What's happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. Today we are doing some cranking. Hands down, the best lure of the year so far for me has been a Bandit crankbait. The 100 and 200 have caught a heck of a ton of stuff. It's a crankbait that I have confidence in this year, and usually a crankbait is not a confidence lure. I fish cranks, I like them, but we have so many grassy lakes around here, I just don't get to throw them as much as I would like to. This is the root beer color, a good secret little color, kind of reminds you of like a bluegill, sunfish type deal. It's even got the orange on the belly, but this root beer color has been good for me in the past. This is an old one that I had, caught a bunch of fish on it. And this is the new one, same color that I was fishing in this video. So enough yapping, let's get out there.
Alright, not a monster, but that's the first one on the night. Bandit 200, that's the old root beer color. Got like a little root beer. Don't know why they call it that. It's green and not root beer colored at all, but cruising the edges out here. Skunk's out of the boat. Now we need to find all of his big brothers and such. Alright, well, we got a whole bunch of pads to fish here, and I can't help but think this is going to be really good and fun once the sun starts to set the edges of this. But for now, I don't know. I was throwing the chatterbait a little bit. Now I'm kind of mixing it up, throwing the crank. We got some rocks and stuff in here. Start by just covering water, I suppose, and see what happens. There we go. One in front of the rocks. Perhaps the dude I missed earlier, little dude. Cranking, summer cranking. Out here about 6 foot, trying to get it down there. Edge of the rocks. Second one on the night. Another one. Right on the edge of the rocks. Okay, switch from the chatter to the crank, and I guess they're liking some cranks on the rocks. There we go. Another little fowler. There's another one right on the edge of the rocks. Edges of rocks. Okay. I'll take another night of cranking. It's the Bandit 200 again, so I was throwing the other day in the khaki color. Like I said, this is a root beer, dirtier water. Wanted something with a little orange flash to it on the belly. I really like that orange and dirtier water, orange belly. There we go. All same size, cookie cutter pounders, but still fun to me. Bandits are such a good one. These are ones that I used to use some time ago, and honestly I'd put them away for a while, but there we go, another day throwing it, and they still work. These things have been around for a while. Edge of the rocks, the drop off, and we got some oh, better one. I was just gonna say, and we got some shade coming in. It's a better fish, it feels like. Oh yeah. All right, solid fish there. As I was just saying, it was the key on this is the edge of those rocks. Oh, so close. 2 pounds, 13 ounces. Almost a 3 on the night. There we go. Long, we'll take it. Little fowler. All right, one more crankfish. Littlest guy of the night, but that's a good sign that on the edge of the rocks they're eating a crank. So the question is, can we duplicate that in enough spots and catch more? Little dude.
You're a dad without saying you're a dad.
Oh, threw it. That was my bass that I caught that was 3 ounces again. Nope, another 3 ounce bass hit it. Look at those shad jumping, he says. No, those are the fish that I catch. Thank you.
I thought it was this cool spectacle. Some people call it. I like to call it a new YouTube video.
Oh, he hit it right on the top of the water.
What kind of crankbait is it?
Bandit. Little Bandit 200 in the root beer color. There we go, one more. Catching the toads out here. I guess we did have one good one. Rest have been a little small. All right, another solid one on the crank. Looked like he only had one little treble hook in him, so I grabbed the net. Never too proud to use the net. All right, 2.5 probably. Have to see if we can find a 3 out here tonight. We'll take that. 2.5 pounder on the crank still. Thank you, sir. It's going up and down these little rocky jetties and stuff. I think this thing, like I said, goes to about 6 foot. I'm trying to stay out 7-8 foot. Bring it through as parallel as much to these rocks and this drop off, you know, when it comes down and drops off. Trying to get it right here on that bottom part and parallel that as much as I can, but another fish. Not as big as our last one. That is another crank eater. Man, an evening of catching crankfish sounds a-okay to me. Evening bite is fun. I don't get to do this nearly as much with the family and stuff. They're busy right now, so I don't have to run kids to activities or do supper or any of that stuff, you know. The adult stuff, work and adult stuff, man, puts a damper on fishing. There should be an allotted 8 hours extra in the day just for fishing, I think. Guess they're on the wood too. On the wood, on the rock. There we go. He's just out on the edge of it. I don't even know how deep it is over here. All right, that dude was out here farther. Looked like chasing bait or something. All right, he and 2 pounder, 1.5 pounder look thicker. That's all right, we'll take it. Number of good ones on the crank. He must have chased it clear out here until it got a little bit deeper and I paused it and he hit it. There's another one. Not the biggest guy in the lake, but they're still eating it. Thanks, sir. Somebody else's line is there. I'm stuck on somebody's line and it was in the air dangling like this and a fish just jumped up and tried to get it. Yeah. What the heck? Stuck on somebody's line and some fish came out of the water to try to get that. Oh my Lord. There's one. Oh, lost him at the boat. There's one. Oh, jumped up and threw my bait. I'm hooked on something behind me. What in the heck is going on here? Wrapped up on my camera and everything else. Oh, nice. They love that action, right? When it's doing that on top of the water. Twisting my line all up. There's one. Could be a little better. Or just digging. Oh, he almost threw the hook. One left there. Look at that. Stop it. Huh, finally got him. There we go. One more. All right. Well, really, it's just finding these drop-offs. I'm sitting, I was in 7-foot water. 6 foot, 4 foot. Little drop-off here. Just a little kind of a little creek arm, I guess you'd kind of think if you're called a little channel just here in the middle between this stuff. That's what I'm trying to stay around, throw out some of these rocks and work my way out towards the edge, but that's been the deal. That's another one. That's another one. Just caught one. Didn't get it on camera. Hey, that's a chunky little spot. Look at how fat those things get. Look at that little dude. Spot on a crankbait. See the little mouth? Little tiny mouth on him. Big old belly. Spots on cranks. Little spotted bass. No wonder he hit it so hard. Those guys are ferocious and will clock your bait. Just caught one right before that too. Didn't get it on camera, but just casting and winding it quick, trying to get him to react to the crankbait. Not giving him a good look at it, just winding. I think it's another spot. Another spot. Cool little fish. Look at them. God, and they're all just toads. Short little football toads. Thank you, sir. There's another one. Little dude. All right. Well, I was just telling Rob that there's a bunch of fish moving over here. I don't know. Might try a walking bait, see if we can catch any of these. One more. And then, well, we found the numbers tonight. Not much for size, but always a fun night when you come out and just catch a bunch of fish, casting and cranking. Find rocks, cast around rocks, catch a few fish.
Well, fishing friends, do you have a crankbait that you're confident in? Again, for me this year, the Bandit series, the 100, 200, they're not crazy expensive. I want to say they're like $7.99, which back in the day with Dad, I'd always get to pick out a lure whenever I went shopping with him. Pick out a fishing lure, and the cranks used to be able to find on like the end caps. We had, Paul's Discount. I remember they had some great deals there, Paul's Discount, but Fin and Feather around and the other places that we'd go to, I'd always pick up a lure, Walmart. But with the crankbait, the Bandit crankbait, it's one of those in-betweens. It's not a super crazy wide wobble, but it's not like super tight finesse, kind of in between. So honestly, a good do-it-all. Now, once it starts to get to like flat side season and the real cold water, I do like something with a tighter wobble. But for an all-around, if you're just going to grab a couple that don't break the bank, the Bandit is awesome. Again, I'll leave my links below. They are sold out of the root beer color over at LureNet, but there is a chartreuse root beer, which instead of it being this orange and white, I think it's just all chartreuse. And the pictures are kind of deceiving on this because it's like this green pumpkin top going into this like kind of tannish green and then white and orange. And it's got a bunch of gold glitter or green glitter on it. So it's a cool color. So you could pick up the chartreuse one or there's a whole bunch. The Bandits come in a ton of colors. I don't know, probably like 30 some colors, bunch of good colors. The splatterback is another one of my favorites. Mimics like yellow bass, crappie. They have a crappie color, all kinds of them. But anyway, love these cranks. I got a bunch of them, and this one, for whatever deal this year, has been absolutely it. So the combo, I love talking gear. People always ask about the combo and stuff at the end, so I'm glad people enjoy this part. This is the Cash and Element Z2 cranking rod. So it's a 7.3 moderate fast, medium heavy, rated for lures 3/8 to 3/4. When I first got this, getting the medium heavy, I was like, man, is this going to be too heavy for a lot of stuff? It casts this no problem. To me, this is honestly more like in between a medium and medium heavy. Some of the other medium heavy cranking sticks I've used are like too stiff for me. And of course it depends on the company. It varies model to model, but this one has been really good as an in-between. Not just your light stuff, but you can throw, you know, some of the smaller ones to the bigger stuff on it as well. I've had a lot of luck with this one. Really like it. Paired it up with the Corrado. That's the Corrado M, the newer version that came out. And these are such a good do-it-all workhorse reel. Shimano, hands down, has the smoothest reels. I just got the Corrado, what is it, 150, whatever they call it. It's got the new whatever version of the MGL, I think 3 spool was the upgrade, but got it. Dude, that thing is so smooth. So, I mean, there's a reason why Shimano is, you know, one of the top 2 in the reel companies nowadays. Daiwa and Shimano are kind of top of the heap. They own their own factories. Quality controls on them is good. So they're both, I mean, you really can't go wrong with either one. Put 12-pound line on here. That's usually my go-to for most all cranking. If I need to get a little bit more depth, I'll drop down to 10, or if I'm going with like a real small crank, make it a little bit easier cast, go down to 10. But usually 12 is my do-it-all, and that is the setup. Now, as far as working this video was actually about a month back. I'm behind on editing videos and getting them out, but this was about a month back, and I tried cranking up shallow, actually with a Bandit 100, one of my custom ones that I painted. No dice. They were not up shallow. Tried doing some other grass stuff, pads. It just wasn't really the bite. Got a few frogfish. That'll be a different video, but it all started for me getting more bites when I moved off just a little bit deeper. These go, I think, 4 to 8 foot. I would say they go down to like 5, 6-ish maybe with 12-pound line. It was that in-between range, trying to find as much of that riprap as I could, coming down that and off the bottom of it. So if this is your, let's say this is your drop off, and down here is kind of where it hits and flattens out. Just as I was getting down here, almost to the bottom, seemed to be where those fish were hanging, kind of on that crease to where it would, you know, flatten out like this, kind of down in this area, which makes sense. You know, the bait above them, it's easier for them to feed up than it is to, you know, run around horizontally and chase stuff. So just as that was coming over them, I assumed they were sitting down there and hitting it, but it was really those drop-offs, just trying to find those good drop-offs, those good little rocky points and such where it, you know, kind of gradually came out where I could tick that with my my crankbait. That was the deal. And that's kind of a pattern within a pattern, because it's not like I could have, or I tried tying on a shallow crank, right? And saying, okay, well, if they're around this area, they'll eat a shallow crank. They didn't. So going a little bit deeper, sometimes you kind of have to figure that out. Same thing with wood. Like if you're flipping and pitching wood, doesn't mean that every piece of wood you go to is going to have a fish. Try to pay attention to, was it wood that was like within 6 feet from the bank? It seems like any of those you hit, they would have it. But when you move out to like, you know, 8, 10 foot, you know, flipping at wood, there was nothing there. Or, you know, was it just laydowns? They were hiding like under laydowns. But when you were, you know, attacking like the standing up vertical, I guess is the word I was trying to think of. Vertical timber, they're not on that. So trying to find those patterns within patterns can be something that really helps out, because it will usually cut out a bunch of dead area. You know, if you go up to a place and you're already saying, oh, no, there's not fish here. Why am I even, you know, fishing this? Just skip it. You know, fish what looks fishy and fish with your gut. You know, that's what people talk about, time on the water. How do you know? How do you find? Listen, I still struggle. There was a day I just went out this weekend, and it was a struggle. I was like, I was sure I was going to get the bite. I thought it was going to be a spinnerbait day. No. Had to go to a bunch of things. So don't get down on yourself. That's the fun part of fishing. If you just went out every time and you always caught 10 fish or whatever, it was just, you know, given, wouldn't be that fun. I know it sounds great at first, unless you just fish to eat and you don't really care about catching, but I guess that'd be different. But that's the whole part of it, is fishing can humble you really darn quickly, and it's really the adventure that's the fun part. It's just like anything, you know, trying to get to a goal, that, you know, that goal, seeing yourself getting there is the fun part. Same thing with fishing, getting out and actually catching the fish, just icing on the cake. Because I say so often, you know, we take stuff for granted. A day very soon I could be here not being able to fish anymore. You never know what's going to happen. So that's it for me. Get out and try to crank if you can. Now is going to be the perfect time to start doing that because a lot of the lakes, the grass is going to start dying off now. It'll start to recede back into spots where maybe you couldn't really hit it before. Or those spots where it was grassy, fish are going to be moving off that as it dies. They're not going to be sitting in the old brown, gross, dead stuff. They might be moving to some of those rocky banks that you have now that you just weren't catching them on before in the summer. You know, we're moving to different spots. So get out there and fish. I've got a Tops fall lures video coming just kind of as a go-to for a few things that I use, how, when, where, why, that type of thing. So that's enough for me. Thanks for watching. Love y'all. And until next time.